Attraction is not some mysterious magic that only a few lucky people understand. Attraction is strategy, and the reality is that most men get this strategy completely wrong. They chase women when they should be holding back. They try to prove how different or how caring they are when they should be letting their presence speak for itself. They think if they text first, reply quickly, act extra funny, stay available, and constantly prove they care, a woman will fall for them. But it never works. What usually happens is that she pulls away, loses interest, or grows colder. And that cycle repeats again and again. If this sounds familiar, then what you're about to hear will change everything about how you approach attraction. Because this is not about tricks, and it's not about fake confidence. This goes deeper. It's about how you move, how you position yourself, and how you show up in a way that naturally creates desire without begging for it, without forcing it, and without chasing. If Machiavelli were alive today, this is exactly what he would be teaching men. Not childish games, but the art of power. And when it comes to attraction, power is quiet. It doesn't need to convince. It doesn't try to explain itself. It doesn't chase. It just exists, steady, rare, and magnetic. That kind of presence draws people in without effort. This is not manipulation. This is clarity. It is about becoming the type of man who commands respect without asking for it, who creates curiosity without trying too hard, who doesn't need to be chosen because he already knows he has chosen himself. In this message, you are going to learn 5 Machiavellian rules for attraction that will shift the way women see you, both in real life and online. These rules are not about faking anything. They are about changing how you carry yourself so that you naturally pull her toward you, instead of pushing her away with too much effort. By the end of this, you won't just understand why your old ways didn't work. You will know exactly what to do differently, and you will feel the difference in how women respond to you. Most men don't realize that predictability is the death of attraction. When a woman knows exactly what you'll say, exactly how you'll react, and exactly how quickly you'll reply to her story or her text, she loses interest. Mystery is what fuels desire, and when there is no mystery, there is no chase. Machiavelli said people respect what they cannot fully predict, not what they fully understand. When you overshare your feelings, when you validate her too much without her earning it, when you constantly make yourself obvious, she doesn't feel curious about you. She feels like she has you figured out. And when she feels that, she feels in control. And when she feels in control, she has no reason to pursue you. Think about this in your everyday actions. On the first date, don't pour out your entire story. Don't be the guy who sends good morning texts every single day when she hasn't shown you consistent interest. If she doesn't reply for a while, don't panic and double text just to keep her attention. Sometimes silence is more powerful than words. Sometimes waiting before you reply builds more curiosity than sending 5 messages at once. Because when she doesn't always know what's going on in your head, she starts to think about you more. That is power. Now let's look at the way most men handle their presence online. Social media today has turned into the stage where people prove themselves. But here's the mistake almost every guy makes. They overshare. They post constantly, comment on every girl's reel, update their feed with meaningless content, and try to show the world how fun and interesting they are. But it doesn't make them attractive. It makes them blend into the noise. Women don't find value in someone who is constantly shouting for attention. They're drawn to men who use silence as strategy. Machiavelli would remind you that power is about perception, and online perception is built from scarcity. A man who posts with purpose, a man who shares something valuable or meaningful once in a while, comes across as rare. When a woman sees you're not constantly online, she doesn't think you're boring. She starts to wonder what you're doing, where you are, and why you're not seeking validation like everyone else. That's when curiosity grows. You don't need to disappear completely, but your presence online should be intentional. A clean profile, a few high-value posts that reflect who you are becoming, not what you are trying to prove, is enough. A story that makes her pause and think about you is far more powerful than 20 meaningless ones. Silence, when used correctly, becomes seductive. Another huge mistake men make is over-explaining themselves. They think that by justifying every move, apologizing for every small thing, and making sure she never misunderstands, they'll win her approval. But what they really do is hand her all the power. Every time you explain too much, you're saying, "You're the judge, and I'm the one waiting for your verdict." And that is not attractive. Machiavelli said you can judge a ruler's intelligence by the people he surrounds himself with. For you, It means that the way you carry yourself shows her how to treat you. If you say something bold and she raises an eyebrow, you don't need to rush into explanations. You can simply smile and say, "You'll figure me out later." If she asks why you didn't reply instantly, you don't need to apologize or defend yourself. You can calmly say, "I don't rush the things I care about." That is confidence. Real confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't need to explain itself. It is unbothered by being misunderstood. And that kind of calm composure builds intrigue. Women don't chase what is obvious. They chase what feels unpredictable and steady. Emotional control is another area where most men fail. Too many confuse emotional reactivity with emotional depth. Yes, it's good to care. Yes, you should feel things. But when you hand over all your emotional stability to a woman's behavior, you've lost attraction completely. If every time she gives you attention you melt, and every time she pulls away you panic, you're not being romantic. You're being reactive. That tells her that your peace of mind depends on her mood. And once she knows that, she no longer needs to prove anything to you. She has the power and you've lost balance. The solution is emotional selectivity. Compliment when it's earned, not because you want her to like you. Match her energy instead of throwing all of yours at her for free. If she gives you 40%, stop offering 100. If she texts you in a dry way, don't chase with paragraphs. Just slow down your replies. If she flakes on a date, don't beg to reschedule. Just say all good and move forward with your life. The man who is selective, the man who chooses where to place his energy, is the man women want. Because attraction isn't about being endlessly available. It's about her wondering what part of you she really has access to. Now let's get to the rule that changes everything. The reason most men chase so much is because they have nothing else going on. Their lives aren't filled with mission, purpose, or growth. So they pour all their energy into one woman, hoping she'll give their life meaning. But Machiavelli would laugh at this. The strongest form of attraction is when someone feels you don't need them, but you still choose them. When you are already fulfilled, when you are already building something for yourself, your presence changes. If you're working on your career, your body, your craft, your mind, you carry yourself differently. You don't send texts out of boredom. You don't give all your energy away for free. You don't chase, because your life already has direction. Women can feel that difference immediately. In person, it shows up in the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you use your time. Online, it shows up in the type of content you share. When you are a man on a mission, you don't need to act mysterious. Your life itself makes you magnetic. Now let's see how these rules play out in everyday life. Imagine you're on a date. She says something like, "You probably say that to all the girls." The average guy would defend himself. But the man who understands attraction doesn't defend. He smirks and says, "I don't say much." That shifts the power instantly. Online, imagine she leaves you unseen. Most guys would triple text. The man who understands power does nothing. Maybe later he posts something valuable, or maybe he stays silent, but either way, his absence makes her think. In a situationship where she gives less and you keep giving more, most guys would keep pushing, but you instead pull back, not to punish her, but to protect your standards. At the gym, in class, or at work, you don't need to be overly loud or constantly seeking attention. Women notice the man who is calm, focused, still. They notice posture. They notice control. That quiet strength is far more attractive than forced effort. But before we end, there's one lesson more important than all the others. The reason so many men chase and fail is because they never understand this one truth. Power does not chase. Power shapes the room. When you stop trying to convince someone to choose you, and instead move like a man who is already chosen by his mission, his peace, his values, everything changes. She feels it. She notices the difference. You stop begging for attention and start creating gravity. She finds herself drawn to you without even knowing why. So stop asking, "How do I get her to like me?" And start asking, "How do I live in a way that makes her curious about me? How do I become so grounded, so intentional, so emotionally steady that she can't stop thinking about me?" That is not magic. That is strategy. If these words spoke to you, don't just move on. Write a comment below, even a short one, so you remember this lesson. It may help another man too. Hit the like button if you found value here, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to build stronger minds, more solid hearts, and men who cannot be broken. So let's build that together.